Is this thing on? Hello and welcome to the Albion Obsessed podcast. We join you on the back of a extremely eventful game, which we'll get into. Oh, look, here's Duncan. There he is.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Better late than never.
Hold on. I need to. There we go. Hello, viewers. Live stream viewers. We are the Albion Obsessed podcast. I'm thrown completely off by all of the things going on here, but we are back to talk about another Brighton game. It's been a few weeks off. We've moved home. I would just like to give a quick shout out to the Sports Social Podcast Network for having Albion Obsessed on board. We really appreciate it. And yeah, lots of exciting things to come from the Albion Obsessed team. But without further ado, let's see who we've got on the show today. We welcome Alex. Alex, my friend, how are you doing?
Not too bad, Joe. Not too bad. Frustrating afternoon, but yeah, glad to be here again. Looking forward to chatting about the game.
Indeed. And we are also joined. Look at that hat. It's so beautiful. SheGulls, Duncan, host man of the other podcast. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm very good, thank you, Joe. I've literally got my my SheGulls hat on. So, getting there with a pun nice and early, I always think.
I love it. And if you haven't listened to the SheGulls podcast, it is filled with Duncan puns, which
Correct.
we have asked him to write a few puns for the Albion Obsessed podcast. We're still waiting on those, but you can expect them very, very soon. And it's a SheGulls podcast special because we've also got Ben. Ben, mate, how are you doing?
Hello, Joe. I'm very well, thanks. Very well. Slightly down today after being so high up yesterday, but, still pretty good. Thanks for having us on.
No worries at all. So just before we get into the Albion spiel, let's talk about SheGulls. Duncan, we haven't had you on the podcast before, so just give everyone a rundown of how SheGulls started and what you guys are up to at the moment.
Yeah, very briefly, started summer of last year, basically because there just wasn't enough stuff online for the Albion women's team. There was no sort of hub for people to discuss the team, find out information, anything like that. Just decided to sort of fill that space. Passionate fan as I was, very quickly found Ben, who's obviously joining us today, and subsequently Claire, and started the SheGulls podcast, and it's kind of all grown from there. So yeah, we do website and like I say, the podcast. I keep plugging it, getting those tactful mentions in. So yeah, just everything Albion women. We talk about it, we write about it, and just try and sort of give them as much coverage as possible, basically.
Yeah, exactly that. And what better time to start listening to the SheGulls podcast if you haven't done so already, because we are on the back, and we won't spoil much. We won't talk about it much because we want people to go and listen to the experts talk about it. But a 4-0 win yesterday, Ben, as you say, the highs of yesterday, there's half lows of today, but I'm sure you're pretty buzzing seeing us score 4 goals.
Yeah, it was extraordinary. I think we were quite excited to see what Kiko Seki could do, and Kiko Seki scored a hat-trick on debut. Like the first player ever to score a hat-trick on their WSL debut. So, yeah, that was it. And the whole game really was just extraordinary. 16-player performance, incredible. I think if you haven't seen the goals, obviously the Albion have been tweeting them and things like that. I heartily recommend. All 3 of them were good, but the third one especially is extraordinary. So we were just buzzing because we've had a few up and down seasons, not too many ups, and so to start, obviously the boys started their season beating Everton 4-0, and the girls have followed suit. So it's just great to be an Albion women's fan.
There you go, happy days. So yeah, Duncan, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Well, we made it nice and simple. Everything's pretty much at SheGulls for the socials. With the exception of Facebook, I think we're SheGulls podcast over there. Website is shegulls.com. So yeah, basically, if you type SheGulls into most things now, we should come up. So yeah, hopefully nice and simple for everyone to find us.
There you go. And as Duncan always says so beautifully at the start and end of every SheGulls podcast, they are powered by Albion Obsessed. And if you want to find them, they are on our Spotify page. If you scroll down, it says more podcasts like this, and the SheGulls podcast will be right there for you to listen to. So go and do that and show them some love. Now, Alex, we haven't had a podcast for the last couple of weeks. And there's been 2 home games that we haven't spoken about. The first one being a 0-0 draw with Ipswich. So we'll just gloss over that one and forget that it ever happened. But we're into the next round of the Carabao Cup. Was you delighted that we got back to winning ways against Wolves?
Yes, of course. And I quite like a good run on the Carabao this year. Quite fancy a good cup run there. We quite often come out at this stage, don't we? So normally the third round we meet someone who was Wolves. Who was it last year? Was it Wolves? I can't remember, but someone knocked us out in there. So I think it's nice to go on a run. It's nice to get some steam. It adds to our undefeated number of games so far this season, which is now 7, which is pretty remarkable. And yeah, it was a bit scrappy. We had multiple players who hadn't really got a lot of minutes starting. It was a bit scrappy, but we got the result, and Ferdy got a goal. So I think it's a big positive, far more positives than negatives out of that one, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I just remember my dad saying that we were pants, but that goes to show how pants Wolves were as well. They had a lot of chances on the counter and they couldn't quite capitalise. Ben, what do you make of the cup results so far? And do you think the Albion should take this one seriously and try and go all the way?
Yeah, I think we should take everything seriously. Really, it's a cup, isn't it? At the end of the day, you get a bit of silverware in your trophy cabinet at the end of the season. That's especially for a club like the Albion, the Man Cities and Man Uniteds and whatever's don't take this competition very seriously until they're kind of in the final. But I think a club like Brighton, who doesn't have a massively stacked trophy cabinet, we want to be putting something in it, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. And Duncan, I don't want to reveal too much, obviously, because I don't know if you've put it out there yet. But you asked for bold predictions, and I said that the Albion women could go all the way and get the FA Cup in their trophy cabinet. What about the men following suit as well? Do you think we could get a League Cup this season?
Yeah, I think it's more than possible. Like the other 2 guys have said, I think for a club that doesn't have a lot in that trophy cabinet, then we should be trying to win everything. And I feel like the squad is probably built that way, in that you could almost put out a quote unquote second 11, and it could also sometimes be our first 11. That you can draw a parallel there, I think, with the women's side as a one club approach. So I think your bold prediction, Joe, of the FA Cup might be a bit bold, but if both teams could get a League Cup, I think we'd happily have that, definitely.
100%. Now, I've been a very lazy host today, and I was going to write down all of the teams that we could possibly get in the next round so I could give you guys a bit of a heads up. The next question, I don't know if I'll skip over it or not, but Alex, do you know who's in the next round, and who would you want in the next round? Oh, he's muted.
Sorry, Joe. Yeah, sorry, I'm muting myself as well. Someone easy. We're not easy, but not. I don't want to beat a big boy yet. I want us to get through another round. Maybe use that to get some more minutes in some players. Some of the players who haven't played much, give them a chance. So hopefully someone championshipy would be great.
Mm.
Home again, please. That would be nice.
It would be nice, although 3 home games in the space of 7 days is what we've had this time round. And I didn't go today because I didn't want to be in trouble at home. So that that's why I missed the game today. Let's have a look at the chat. Let's see who's in the chat. So we've got Joanna. Hello, Joanna. I hope you enjoyed the game today. We've got Doom Ultima. Is Fabian the youngest manager to get a red card? Yes, youngest Premier League manager to get a red card. And we've got Andrew saying, "Congrats to the Albion ladies, brilliant Albion ladies team, even brilliant result." I can't speak today. Duncan, can you take over the hosting for me? Much better
Oh no! You're not getting away with just pressing the buttons in this one, Joe.
No, definitely not. You can see why I only press the buttons for SheGulls, because I can't speak. And we've also got Doom saying it's Ferdy time. It absolutely is. I was a bit gutted not to see him from the start today, to be honest. But let's have a look at the starting 11. I've got a massive screen here with the starting 11 on it. How prepared am I? So we started with Bart Verbruggen in goal. It was a 4-2-3-1 back four of Purvis, Lewis Dunk, Van Hecke and Veltman. Midfield 2 of Belieber and Hinshelwood in midfield, which was a big talking point. And then ahead of those, it was Mitoma, Rutter and Adingra. Really happy to see Adingra get a start, given the performances he's had this season, 100%. Yeah. And Danny Welbeck leading the attack. Alex, Jack Hinshelwood in midfield. Felt good to see him there, right?
I'm a big fan. I've been saying this all along, and I think Hinch belongs in midfield, right? I think that's where his best position is, to be honest. The thing about Hinshelwood, and he's almost like the new Gross in a way, and he'll play across either of those wing back positions and in midfield. So he's useful. And, when we got injuries, we got players coming back like Purvis. Obviously Purvis had minutes against Wolves. It had minutes in the game before that, I think, as well. I think those were his only appearances, but he's definitely getting sharpness back. He wasn't at his absolute best today, but it was good to see him back on the pitch. And I don't think you can drop Hinshelwood at the moment, and rightfully so, considering, he scored a goal today and was actually involved in the other one as well. So yeah, I think it's well worth having him on the pitch, and I'd love to see him in midfield. He's great. He's one of my favourites for sure.
Yeah, he when he burst through the tail end of the season where we clinched Europe for the first time, his quality was for all to see. And then obviously had such a great breakthrough season last season. Ben, Roberto De Zerbi was quoted to say that he could be the second coming of Pascal Gross, and Alex has just mentioned that as well. Important to have a player like him when Gross obviously left. So what do you think, he could step up to the plate and be that influential for us, or is that too soon for the young lad?
I think it might be a little bit soon to go full Pascal Gross, but I think it's there, isn't it? It's the sort of embryonic stages of that. I mean, I think he's not quite got that kind of sang-froid of sort of, I haven't seen him do too many Cruyff turns. Yeah, that sort of thing, just for the hell of it, which I, love. So it's a little bit early still, but I think, he's going to be, I think, that sort of player, that sort of midfield general who likes just messing around with fullbacks. But again, like Pascal Gross, he's got that sort of flexibility where, if you are short a player, you could probably put him in goal. That sort of thing. So I think he could play sort of further forward in midfield. He could also put him at fullback. So I think he's been an exciting prospect for quite a few years now, hasn't he? Getting more exciting all the time. And he can jump. How high was he getting that header?
Goodness me!
How high was he? That was amazing.
Yeah. Exactly that. We'll talk about the goal in a little while. Another, I wouldn't say surprise starter, because I thought he is worth every bit of his start, Duncan. Simon Adingra has come on a few times this season and changed the game. Played really well against Crawley, played really well against Wolves. So do you think he was due a start in the Premier League?
Yeah, I think he was due an opportunity for sure. Obviously, we've seen Minter get a few opportunities down that side. I tend to find them, I wouldn't say they're exactly one and the same, but I find them equally brilliant and frustrating at the same time. They both seem to have this, they've obviously got the skill, the pace, they've got everything that they need to kind of be successful, and they are successful in their own right. But then every now and again, you just think, now why have you done that? Why have you taken it that way into the defender instead of taking it away from the defender? But the thing is, that's going to happen with players like that. And to be honest with you, as a defender, you would much rather face someone who's just going to do the same thing every time than someone who's going to do something unpredictable. And I think with both of them, they're liable to do something unpredictable. So although they may have an issue sometimes with the final product, that's because every now and again they're equally going to find that bit of space that no one else would. So from that perspective, I think they're quite similar. But Adingra's a little bit more slight, and I think he's done well coming off the bench, and obviously, like you say, against Crawley and everything like that. So I think it was time to give him a chance. And I think he did well. Whether he's done any better than Minter has in any of the other games, I'm not too sure. But it's so fun to have like options, where you sort of think, well, oh dear, we're going to have to take so and so off or give so and so a rest, and then the next player up, you think, blimey, no, they're good as well. So roll on. Hopefully, they're all in form and they're all battling each other for these wing positions.
Exactly. It's a far cry from what we had last season when we had one winger fit, and that was Simon Adingra. And that wasn't fun for anyone. Duncan Fotmob reckons that Adingra got a 6.7 rating today, so quite average. But I don't know how much you look into Fotmob ratings. They've got Jack Hinshelwood down as a 7.9, so I think it's quite accurate. So we'll take that. Alex, it didn't take long for the action to start. Nottingham Forest break into the box, and Carlos Baliba, with his clumsy feet, gives away a penalty. First of all, in the stands, what was your initial feelings towards that penalty being given?
Yeah, it didn't look like a pen from where I was sitting. It looked like it didn't look like one. It became clear that it was, obviously. But yeah, no, initially, didn't look like a clear pen. Unfortunate for the lads. I think he's got himself back into defensive position. He needs to be able to do that, right? He needs to be able to get back there, and he needs to be able to make those kind of tackles in the box, and he needs to make them cleanly. It's part of his job, I think. So yeah, it's a shame. And again, young lads, he's full of energy, and it didn't seem to knock him too much down, I think, which is good. He bounced back from it. You don't want to see a player like that. You don't want to see their head go down. After making a mistake, you want them to crack on. But yeah, unfortunately, it was so early in the game as well, right?
Yeah, exactly that. I became quite worried because even after the penalty, Ben, he picks up a yellow card, and I was thinking, oh, is this going to be a Carlos Baliba disaster class? After, winning, I think he's won 2 Player of the Match Performance Awards voted by the fans over the last week. So still a very raw player. So do you think that's another mistake that he can just learn from and hopefully sort of eke that out of his game?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm not so sure it was quite a clear cut of penalty, as Alex says. I mean, it's they're both going for the ball. Neither of them's got it under control, and one of them trips over the other one. So, you could imagine that not being given. And I wonder if like the one the other week where it turned out that the forward had trodden on Donkey's foot. I wonder if it might have been overturned had VAR doesn't like overturning refs. Right? Going with the refs cool stuff, isn't it? But yeah, I think he is. He's a young player, isn't he? So you want like with the wingers, you want them to be doing stuff, and you want them to be trying things, and they make mistakes, and the great players do learn from their mistakes, don't they? So I think next time he's in that situation, he'll be like, perhaps I won't kick the forward, I'll get the ball instead. or something. You know.
Fingers
But
crossed.
yeah, I think he'll grow from it, and like you say, I mean, he did get booked, but then a lot of people got booked, didn't they? So I think he didn't let it get to him. His head didn't go down, and he tried a couple of long range shots and whatnot and stuff. So I think yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly that. You want his head to stay up, like Alex said, and it's a good mentality that he did carry on being the player that we all know and love, and I think that's what you want from a young player for sure. Duncan, the next question I've got is: will we ever save a penalty again? How long has it been since a Brighton goalkeeper, at least for the men's team? I'm not 100% sure for the women's team, has saved a penalty. Can someone tell me the last time?
I think it's what's coming to mind is that meme of I think it's from Titanic, isn't it? It's been 84 years. It does feel like that. I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, we've got very good goalkeepers. Was it Steely had a decent record? I think when he was keeper in the cup, I think he had a couple of outstanding performances. But yeah, it's so much down to almost pot luck. I mean, everyone still does talk about João Pedro as an excellent penalty taker, and I think he is an excellent penalty taker. However, what I would say is if the goalkeeper goes the right way, quite a few of his are savable. So it's more about him getting the goalkeeper to go the wrong way. So I think that's part of it. Part of his technique is almost like sending the goalkeeper the wrong way so that he can then
like
comfortably put it in the other side. Yeah, exactly. Why not? So that's what I would say is there must have been some of these penalties where you sort of think, well, just luck of the draw. If they're dived the right way, they probably would have saved it. But it does seem like an awful long time ago that we kept one out.
Yeah, so if anyone knows, let us know at Albion Obsessed who was the last Brighton goalkeeper to save a penalty. You're probably right, Duncan. It was probably Jason Steele at some point. But yeah, who knows? Alex, Duncan raised a good point about the penalties, and we're sort of deviating a little bit. But it's funny, isn't it? Because you say if João Pedro rolls the ball one side, it's a beautiful penalty, and everyone's happy that it's gone in. But if the goalkeeper just stands there and sort of goes and saves it, it's a crap penalty. So what's the difference? I don't know.
Oh, with JP, I mean, I think what Duncan touched on there was that it's sending the keeper the wrong way, right? And I think that's what's so smart about the way he takes them. Yeah, I think he's got several tricks that he tries. We're looking. There's all about where you look, isn't it? And keepers are always going to be trying to pick up on any kind of tell. It's a game of poker at that point, right? Isn't it? You're playing this man on a man. They're both professionals. It's this real moment, real intense moment. I can't even imagine what that's like. And then in that moment, trying to spot that tell and then either dive the right way or send it the wrong way, right? And I think it's a reaction game. It's smartness. It's poker, and JP's just very, very good at that. And we're lucky we've got him. He's a smart player like that. Tricky.
If it's a game of poker, are we going to see Tony Bloom take the next penalty for the Albion?
Well, maybe he could go in goal, and you might be able to save them.
That's true. Who knows? Tony
I don't think he's got the reach. I don't think he's got the reach.
No.
He might be all right if it's a Panenka.
yeah, true. Alex, another thing I sort of noticed about the game today was that it was quite a slow start again, and I think I don't know what it is. Is it the players still getting used to the Fabian Hürzeler's tactics? Is it an instruction from Hürzeler to start slow? What do you make of the slow starts?
Yeah, we were just rusty, right? We couldn't get it together. I thought there was about 5 minutes where I thought, oh, this is promising. And we were actually putting some passes together, and that kind of fell apart and we were a bit crap. And then we had the goal, obviously. And then it's like panic stations almost hit, and players are really not I don't know. It wasn't that smart, free-flowing passing that we know we can play. You know, especially against someone like Forest. You know, you want to see us putting at least in the first 2/3 of the pitch actually putting some passes together. And yeah, it was disappointing to say the least. We didn't seem to be getting in those positions. I don't think it's an instruction from her. I don't think that is a case. I think it is. We've got a lot of, and we can't use this excuse for too long, but we're 5 games into the league and we've got a lot of new players. We have got a new manager and it is a slightly different system. And I think, when we come to talk about it as well, probably their second goal, again, is another sign of this bedding in and players understanding their roles and where they're supposed to be. But there's real moments, aren't there? Even in that first half, even when we weren't playing too great, and certainly, the 2 goals, when you see it come together, you go, okay, actually, if we can start getting this more consistently, then this is going to be a very, very good and exciting team to watch. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing, isn't it, Ben? That you see these moments of quality still. And that we are creating chances and that we're not losing. So are you, even though that there are moments in games where you feel like we haven't quite got grips of it, are you still quite confident that we'll be all right and we'll start to see sort of more complete performances?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like Alex said, there's a lot of new players. Some of them arriving quite late in the window as well. So someone who arrived pre-season is going to be more bedded in than Ferdy, who arrived last Tuesday, sort of thing. So, it's going to come. I think there are sort of certain new things we like. De Zerbi never really played much of an offside trap, and that seems to be quite an important thing now. And just get just almost to something as basic as getting the line straight, because I think when they should have won it right at the end when they broke through. I think the line was kind of a bit. I think Joel Veltman might have been a bit further back than the centre backs, and so just stuff like that they're not they've not been used to playing that for the last couple of seasons. So just getting used to things and each other and whatnot. So it's coming, and like you say, when it really does come together, when they do something to get it out to Mitoma and he does something and then he gets it inside to someone else, and it's still just magical to see, isn't it? That's what we watch them for.
Yeah, definitely. Tom, our usual host, asked a question in our group chat of, are we relying too much at the moment on individual quality to win us and salvage us points? My argument is that even if you are playing well, I think games are still won on individual moments and individual quality, because I think we saw a lot with Graham Potter, for example, that the team would play incredibly well. You just couldn't score. No matter how long you played football for, it just wasn't happening for you because we lacked that last bit of individual quality. So I think it's good to see that we're still making chances. It's good to see that there's still people that will step up to the plate when it really matters. And if we get playing well and continue to have individual moments of quality, I think we're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And a lot of teams are sort of maybe worried about the day that Brighton turn up and play really well and beat a team convincingly. What do you think, Duncan? Do you think we are reliant too much on the individual quality, or do you think, as I say, it will come in time?
I think one almost begets the other to a certain extent. I think if you play well as a team, you create more moments of opportunity. That's what I would say. And that's probably why in the last couple of games, it's felt a little bit, obviously we had the 0-0 and now the 2-2. So we've kind of gone from that clean sheet, but also, knocking on the door for long periods of time with no end product. And then today we had sort of a bit of a shift the other way where we knocking on the door and we were getting through the door, but they were getting through our door as well. So I think if the team plays well, you give your best players the chances to have those moments. And so, like I say, one almost feels like it goes into the other. I think where you would like to see a little bit of improvement is some of these draws being turned into wins by those moments, rather than those moments leading to draws. You'd rather they led to wins. Obviously, that's the name of the game at the end of the day. So I suppose that's where, obviously against Ipswich, if something had happened right in the 90th minute, bit of individual quality, that's when you want those moments, because as a team, it just wasn't quite coming off. So I think, it's a little bit of everything. But if you don't have the players who can create those moments, then you've got nothing. So they go hand in hand. But isn't it great to have those players who have the potential to do something when we need it?
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Ben, you mentioned offside traps, and it reminded me of an offside trap that Gus Poyet pulled off against Derby. I think he tried a whole team offside trap from a free kick, and literally every single outfield player pushed up, and almost every Derby player was offside. And it was one of the most ballsy pieces of tactics I've ever seen. But who else to give some ballsy tactics than Gus Poyet? So yeah, fair play to him. I don't know why that reminded me of that. I just suddenly had a flashback to being in the stadium and panicking that 10 Derby players were through on goal and about to score. But
if you got that on DVD or like maybe on VHS or something, send it over to Fabian.
I'll tell you what, if someone can find that clip, send that to Fabian Hertzler, and if we see that next week, I am not to blame. All right, okay. It didn't. Let's forget about all the negative stuff that happened in the game, and let's talk about an individual moment of quality. Jan-Paul van Hecke. Who else to deliver a pinpoint perfect there you go. He's on the back of Alex's shirt, but you can't see it because his headrest was blocking it. But Jan-Paul van Hecke is on the back of Alex's shirt. And that's why he delivered that cross, right, Alex?
Yeah, exactly. Wow. I mean, like, what a ball, right? And then, as you say, an individual moment of quality, and you kind of, we know he's great. We know he's technically gifted footballer, and I think there was in the Ipswich game there was a moment he turned in the box, he tackled and turned in the box and then passed it out with a perfect ball out to the outfield, and off we were. And you're like, those moments of just, I love him. I absolutely love him. But yeah, that was great today, right? And then who else? Hinshelwood's there with he's like a salmon, isn't he? I think we should start calling him salmon. He leaps up. It's unbelievable. And off we go. We got the equalizer and happy days, So great bit of play. Couldn't be happier for both of them, to be honest. It was a well worked goal, and more of that, please. Yeah.
Definitely. We're going to call him Jumping Jack, I think, because there's another bit of jumping from Jack that I want to mention in a little while. But Ben, that leap for that header and the power he generated. I think obviously the power comes also from the beautiful ball in from JP, but he generated the power and placement for that header, and his first goal of the season. So what do you make?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a goal in reverse, isn't it? Because he's this little nippy running sort of, is he a winger, is he a fullback sort of bloke? So he's the one that's crossing. JP's this great big sort of enormous Dutch, whatever enormous Dutch things are. And so he's supposed to be the one that's, but that's why I love it. I love JP because he just looks, he's such a unit. And then, the game a couple of years ago, last season against Man City, he dispossesses Erling Haaland and then does a Cruyff turn on his own penalty spot and plays it away. And it's like, you got to love a player like that. And he's got that. He's always had that in his locker, as they say. And this was his first goal for the Albion, a header, because that it was very similar as well. He just gets up. He really gets up. I mean, there's a still of it on the there's a gallery on the Albion website. And he's so high, and everyone else is also jumping, and he's like 3-4 feet above them. Amazing, So I don't know what he has for breakfast. But...
No, but Ben wants it.
Yeah.
So enough about jumping jack. Let's talk about the windmill that is Jan-Paul van Hecke, Duncan. I'm loving the nicknames we're giving our players this evening. Yeah, I mean, what have you made of the rise of Jan-Paul van Hecke over these last season, 2 seasons and a half?
I think it's absolutely incredible. I mean, I've got a friend who is a Blackburn Rovers fan, and obviously he went there on loan, and I think won their Player of the Season. And he basically said we'd have him back in an absolute heartbeat, but he's too good. He's going to be too good. And at that point, we hadn't seen a lot of him for the Albion. And then obviously he stayed with us the following season and started to get game time and everything. I don't know if this is controversial to say it or not, but De Zerbi kind of hinted before that JPVH could be the next Lewis Dunk. I actually think not only could he be better, I actually think he's better now. If I have to leave out Dunk or Van Hecke at the moment, sorry, Lewis, I love you to bits because you know I'm a Brighton boy, but I'm keeping JPVH in there because he's on the upswing. Dunkey's still very good, but he's on the downslope a little bit now. So to me, he talk about first name on the team sheet. He's my first name on the team sheet, probably above. I'm trying to think. No, it's him. It's him. First name on the team sheet, bar none. So yeah, he's incredible. He's imperious. He's good on the ball. He's not really fast, but he's quick. He's quick enough as a centre back, and he's got a presence about him that I think. There was a part in the game where one of the Forest players went over a bit easily. I think he got a bit tangled up with Veltman, and he started getting a little bit leery towards Veltman, and John-Paul just sort of started walking over there, and as soon as he saw John-Paul Van Hecke coming over, he just got up and sort of went, oh, all right, yeah, okay, I'm off now, because there's just something about him. I love the guy. Unfortunately, the Albion don't make quite enough big enough shirts for me, but if I had one, I would get JPVH on the back, definitely.
There you go. There's a campaign for the Albion to get a shirt for Duncan with Jan-Paul van Hecke on the back.
Change to Adidas and get some bigger sizes.
Yeah, I've got a Dutch friend. He's a big Ajax fan, actually, but he's also obviously a big Netherlands fan. And the other night he's like, "Oh, I can't believe what De Ligt has done now. De Ligt has done this. De Ligt's terrible." And then, "Oh, thank God, Van Hecke's come on." So he's basically he's going to be the first name on the Netherlands team sheet soon as well.
Yeah, I just want to remind people though to not vote for Jan-Paul van Hecke as your player of the season. No. Do not vote for him because we know what happens when we vote for a player as player of the season, and we want to keep Jan-Paul van Hecke for as long as we possibly can. But
can I say so, Joe? The last player I got on the back of my shirt was Moises Caicedo, so I am very sorry if.
Do you know what, Alex?
I bought my son a Trossard and he left 2 weeks later.
Right. We are banning Alex Ben from getting shirts with players on the back for good. So maybe it wasn't the player of the season award. Maybe it was Alex that ruined everything. Trossard never got player of the season, so
yeah, there we go.
I think, Ben, you're safe. But let's talk about another moment of individual quality. But I want to talk about another player who I think played a massive role in that ball curling into the back of the net. There's a beautiful free kick from Danny Welbeck. But if you watch the replay back, and I don't know if you have yet, Alex, jumping jack jumps across the goal as the ball curls around him, and he ducks at the perfect moment so that the goalkeeper cannot see that ball coming. And Tom in our group chat said maybe the goalkeeper should have done better. But I think Jack Hinshelwood has just completely put him off there. So Alex, again, another really important involvement from jumping jack to allow. What are we going to call Danny Welbeck? What nickname are we going to give him?
he's already got that
guy.
guy, hasn't he? So I think,
Just that
he's
guy.
all right.
Oh, yeah, allowing him to curl that into the far corner. What a beautiful free kick.
Yeah, he knew he had that in the locker, right? On that jumping thing, it was interesting. Danny, Hinshelwood and Dunk were both jumping up and down together before he took the free kick in the wall. It was weird. I hadn't really seen that before. So they were kind of jumping up and down.
That's a gift waiting to happen, isn't it?
Yeah. And then, as you said, I watched the replay back when I got back, and I'm like, oh my god, he actually really does duck out of the way, and he was up again, and as you say, put the keeper off, luckily. But what a free kick! Why hasn't he been taking all of them? Right, that was amazing, and did not know Danny had that in the locker, but not a huge surprise. But yeah, really nice to see us actually scoring from a free kick as well, which is pretty special. Can't remember the last time we did that either.
Probably Alexis McAllister.
Yeah,
Troy McAllister, maybe Trossard. Did he ever put him in from a free kick? Can't remember.
Nah, we won't talk about Trossard. Hilarious seeing him get sent off earlier, by the way. Leandro Trossard, are you not entertained? I remember that Instagram post. You can piss off your Belgian. Anyway, enough.
As well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stop kicking the ball away. You're not learned from your mistakes. Let's actually, talking of kicking the ball away, let's talk about Joel Veltman. Because again, he's involved in a situation where he's about to take a free kick. The player kicks the ball away and gets a yellow card. Duncan, I think Joel Veltman might be the nicest shithouse I've ever seen ever in football. What do you make of Joel's sort of very quiet dark arts?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. He does. He seems to be, for such a nice guy, he just seems to have this real sort of niggle about him that you see players getting frustrated when they're playing against him. He'll put in a tackle and they'll push him to the ground, or whatever. He just seems to, like, I don't know if it's because he's getting up there in years and they feel like they should be like beating him every time or whatever. And sometimes he does get beat, but he's very good at recovering, 9 times out of 10. But they just don't seem to like it when he gets the ball off them. In particular, him. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether he's has a little whisper in the ear or whatever, but they just seem to get really annoyed with Joel, and he's such a lovely guy. I don't, whatever anyone wants him to do, he's always up for it, and he's always posting messages, and he saved the seagull, didn't he? And so he's such a lovely guy. Yeah, everyone seems to, everyone on the opposition seems to hate his guts. But I mean, as long as it's not him getting yellow cards and it's the opposition, then you've got to take it, haven't you?
Exactly. He's a dickhead on the pitch, but he's our dickhead. All right,
Yeah.
we'll have him forever. The best individual performance I've ever seen from a Brighton player was Joel Veltman on Wilfried Zaha a couple of seasons ago. He had that guy in his pocket times 10, and it was just absolutely beautiful to see. So
he's got that bit of cotton wool sticking out of his nose, isn't he?
yeah, exactly. He's just been absolutely beaten to a pulp. And I think it was Veltman who, on like his first game for the Albion, I think maybe it was a friendly, he ended up with a black eye. How does he do that? But yeah, Joel Veltman, we absolutely adore you. Never ever leave this football club. So we went into halftime 2-1 up, which was quite good considering the start to the game we had. It was some turnaround. And in the second half, Ben, we started to dominate possession like you would not believe. So frustrating to not take advantage of that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, tell me about it. It's it's Ipswich all over again, isn't it? It's only one stat that counts at the end of the day, so it doesn't matter how often you have the ball if you can't get it in that other goal. It's lovely to watch. It's really nice to watch people passing a ball around and probing, but so often there's no end product. You've really got to be, especially you go literally 2 goals in the last 3 minutes before half time. You're going into the dressing room with your head in the clouds, and they're going, oh no, we were winning a minute ago. You've got to hit them as soon as you come out. You've got to get that third one, kill them off, and that's something that it's just an age-old thing, isn't it? Just can't seem to get that killer thing. It's like it was squeaky bum against Wolves because we should have got 4 or 5, but we only got 3, and then they got that late second, and oh god, is it going to go to extra time? So yeah, it's nice to watch, but not very effective, is it?
No, and we did have that chance to score the third goal. Lovely feet in the box by Danny Welbeck. Managed to get away from his markers, and Alex could not quite poke the ball past Matt Sells.
No, it was a real shame, and it's one of those where you're watching, you're going, how is he still carrying on? And then you're like, oh, he's got through. He's actually got through. And then and I saw Matoma getting really annoyed, actually, to his left there. He was looking pretty annoyed. He didn't tap it to him, but you're there right in front of the goal. You're gonna have a shot, aren't you? If you've done your well, no one's gonna take that away from you. I don't think you get too annoyed, but unfortunately, could not get it away, and I think that was probably the best chance we may have had in that half, and it was frustrating. We didn't take it, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. And then Duncan, the inevitable happens. Forest catch us on the counter. Joel Veltman's playing the 2 players on side. It's squared across past Bart Verbruggen and put into the back of the net. Something that I was worried about in pre-season was us getting caught on the counter. Even when we're in Japan and playing against quote-unquote lower opposition, they were still having joy on the counter-attack. And Forest take advantage of that. Do you think that's a worry for the Albion?
I think it will always be a worry when we play the style of football, which is so attack-minded. I think De Zerbi was quite clear on it, and I think Herzler is probably similarly minded, is that you take the risk of weakening the defence to strengthen the attack. So rather than it being 0-0 and us nick 1 goal, you're hoping it's 4-2 to us, sort of thing. And I think, like I say, De Zerbi was quite upfront about that. I think Herzler probably is a little bit more defensive minded, but I still think it's that risk reward. And we are probably not going to keep that many clean sheets playing a high press, high attacking intensity game. We're going to get caught on the counter. I think one of the problems that they may have, obviously, especially you spoke a little bit about the offside trap earlier, that's quite a hard thing to implement if you haven't been playing that style, even though those players have been playing together for a long time. I also think, weirdly, players who have different levels of pace can find it difficult to play the offside trap, because weirdly, again, you can get 2 very slow centre backs and they can play an offside trap very well because they're in sync. And I think when you've got Estepinian on the left, who's quite fast, you've got Veltman, who is, he can put a burst on, but he does get beat quite a lot, if I'm honest, especially by the real pacey ones. He relies more on his nous than his speed. And then you've got Duncan Van Hecke, again, I think are opposite, maybe not opposite ends of the scale, but, Dunky's never been the quickest and he's only slowing down now. And JPVH, like we said before, he's not lightning quick, but he's quicker. He can recover quicker. And I think when you've got almost like 4 different speeds of player and you're trying to also look along the line and you're not quite sure who's going to come back and cover. And it just felt like that was almost like the perfect storm, where like they just waited for that one opportunity where they could catch one of them sitting a little bit too deep or not catching up with the line quite in time. And they just tried it a few times. A couple of times they were offside, but you just need that one opportunity, and then they go down the other end and score. And I think it's been a feature of the Albion for the last couple of seasons, to be honest with you, is that we can get turned over quite nastily if the opposition take a lot of their chances on the counter. And there's been games where we've we've played very well, won by a few goals. But if the opposition had taken their chances, it would have been a lot closer. And equally, we saw games like, you know, the infamous Everton loss at home and stuff like that, where if they can get 3 or 4 counters and they score them all, you're stuffed quite quickly. So I do think it's something they need to work on. I think they will be working on it. I think they obviously have got more personnel that they can rotate in and stuff like that as well. Obviously with Kadioglu, you know, we might see Estepinian and then rotate. We might see Kadioglu somewhere else on the midfield. Perhaps he might even play at right back sometimes. I know he can do. But I think, as I say, we always will have a little bit of a problem on the counter because of the way that we play in attack. So
Yeah, no, I think you're pretty spot on with your points there, Duncan. Joanna in the chat says, I like the idea of attacking football and I don't mind conceding your goal, but it's so frustrating not being able to score. I know we scored 2 today, but we should have at least scored more, and the same last week. Obviously, the 0-0 against Ipswich, where we couldn't score even if we'd played all the way into the night. So, yeah, I completely get your frustrations, Joanna, but I think if we have that patience that we know Brighton fans do have, that we will see some really good results in the future from this team, because there are all the markings of a team that, yes, are still in transition, but are understanding what the manager wants to do, and understanding where we want this football club to go. And I think it's still very exciting times. So just keep hanging on in there, Joanna, and we'll see more goals. And then Alex, right. Chaos fell upon the Amex in the 84th minute. João Pedro was through and Gibbs White lunged all the way back to him and almost took his ankle off, and then got a second yellow and a red card. First of all, what did you make of the challenge?
Yeah. Oh, we just talking about this. It was clumsy. It was out of control, I think. And although he did get the ball, depends which angle you look at it. There's one where it does look like he gets contact with the ball first. Then it's still. I think it's still a yellow, still a fair yellow, because he really did take out Pedro and he left a lot in the tackle behind the ball. That's a polite way of putting it, I think, right? He definitely put something into it. And probably, again, I never like to think of players wanting to intentionally harm other players, but, it wasn't wise for him to do that kind of tackle on the yellow card. And was it necessary? He probably was taking one, wasn't he? But, one too many. I don't really think it affected the game, to be honest, that much. It might affect their next game more than the outcome of this one, to be honest. And they still carried on defending and doing what they were doing for the rest of the match. I don't think it had a huge effect. It certainly didn't seem to help us finding additional space in their back line and getting through as we hope it score. But it didn't really seem to change that.
No, I think it probably made it much more difficult for us. They just suddenly then put 10 men behind the ball, and it was what it was against Ipswich, just a team defending and us trying our absolute best to try and find some space, and it just didn't happen. Ben, it was a dangerous lunge, and I think a lot of Nottingham Forest fans are complaining because they see the referee signal he got the ball. But my argument to that is that we don't actually know the full dialogue from the referee. He could have been saying, he got the ball, but he also almost killed João Pedro. So what did you make of the whole situation, really?
Yeah, I think, like Alex says, I think if João Pedro gets away, he's away. So, by hook or by crook, Gibbs White's got to stop it. And whether he gets the ball, like I said, I don't think he deliberately tried to take him out. I think it was just a desperate challenge because he's going, oh my God, if João Pedro gets away, then he's going to score. So I've got to get the ball. But it's very clumsy. It's mistimed, and he did play the ball. But that's not the only rule. You're not allowed to go through someone to get the ball, or dangerously take them down to get the ball. So I think, as Alex said, it was a definite yellow card. But yeah, I think that's what the problem was. Really, the ref just seemed to indicate that it wasn't a foul because he got the ball, and then suddenly, I think because I was watching this on the TV, we cut away to something else, and then we come back and he's waving his yellow card and gives White's face again. It's like, but I thought, and then so he's off, and then suddenly both managers are off as well. Apparently, Fabian got sent off for encroaching onto the pitch.
Yeah, I just saw that as well.
That's a bit kind of fierce. Obviously, Nuno Espirito Santo was obviously going off on one because suddenly his player, who he thought had made a fair challenge, was being sent off. But yeah, it was just the sort of chaos ensued because the ref wasn't really clear about what was going on. I think had he been just straightway booked, I think maybe the Forest people would be a bit more, a bit more accepting of it. But just the fact that there was that weird period where I think a lot of people thought that the ref had reacted to the Brighton bench and gone, "Oh, I thought he got the ball, but actually they're going a bit mad, so maybe it was a foul," which obviously isn't very good refereeing. But yeah, it's just confusion. But yeah, and I don't think again, I think you can understand Fabian Herzl going a bit mental because we've had not a lot of players, but Matt O'Reilly was basically someone tried to end his career like 10 minutes into his first game, or however many, not many minutes into his first game. So every time someone does that to an Albion player this season, Fabian Herzl is going to be like, "Oh my God, he's not," So you can see what's going on, but it's just really, really sort of unclear stuff from the ref, and everyone was just a bit confused about what was going on, and it was just weird.
Yeah, and Duncan, something that I've really been enjoying over the last season is when they release the audio from the referees and the VARs so that you can gain clarity on what did happen. But do you think, I'm very much in this camp, would they take a little bit of a leaf out of rugby's book and have that audio in the live match feed? Do you think that would clear a lot of people's frustrations if you could hear instantly why the referee's making those decisions?
It's a very tricky one because I know the reason why they don't want it is A, they don't want the referees exposed if they do make a mistake, and B, a lot of the teams don't want it because of the fact that they don't want their players sent off for swearing or whatever it is. So I don't know whether that what the appetite is for that, but I think it would solve a lot of problems, but I can't see it happening anytime soon.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And Joanna says it also looked like João Pedro was limping afterwards and in a little bit of pain. Obviously, he's only just come back from a slight knock from international duty as well. So it's risking that player to come on and change the game, but also putting him. I mean, you're at risk all the time when you're on a football pitch of getting injured. So I think in terms of that, there's not much you can do. But yeah, a little bit annoying considering we've got a very big game coming up this weekend and definitely need João Pedro fit and firing for that one.
I think it's similar. There was an incident last season, wasn't there, where Mitoma had been out for ages and he'd just come back and his knee was really big, really sort of fully strapped up and stuff. And I think it was away at Wolves and he just got taken out. And it was like, yeah, thanks, mate. We just fixed this one. I think that was a straight red, wasn't it? But
Sheffield United, I think.
Sheffield United.
Yeah, that was
you've seen, like you say, I mean, he's a valuable asset. We literally just got him back on the field, and someone's tried to break him again. Well, tried to. It wasn't. I don't think he didn't deliberately try to hurt him, but it was clumsy, it was late. So
Exactly that. We've got Tom in the chat saying, "Sorry, late to the stream. Hope you're all good." Yeah, all good, mate. How are you? You've missed 58 minutes, so go back, watch the whole thing. Let us know what you think. But yeah, all good, mate. All good. Let's turn our attention then to player of the match. Alex, who would you select as your player of the match?
Today I am going to choose Jumping Jack. I think Hinch, his contributions to both goals were immense, and he was just great all day. Just solid, wasn't he? The whole time he was on the pitch, didn't really seem to make many mistakes, and or no more than anyone else did today. So Mr. Hinshelwood for me, please.
There you go. We've also got Max in the chat. He says, just wanted to say hi to my body, Joe. Hello. Enjoying the show from Zambia. We had Max on last season when we played against Chelsea. He's a Chelsea fan, so go easy on him. He's a really nice guy. But he says, can't wait to play you all next weekend at the Bridge. Max, I hope you're ready to lose. Now I've said that, you're going to clip it when we don't win, so that's great. Ben, who was your player of the match?
Well, I expected Alex to go for this one, so I was frantically trying to think of another, but I was going to go for Mr. Van Hecke because Duncan knows, and listeners to SheGulls will know I love a Dutchie. We haven't had a Dutchie in the women's team for a couple of years. We've got a couple now, and I mean one of them. Marissa Ollislagers played at the weekend, and she was immense. So one of my best friends is Dutch. Love the Dutchies, but he's just class, and he's a unit, but he's got such skills, and that ball he put in for Hinch's header, just beautiful.
Duncan, over to you, my friend. Who are you selecting as your Albion player of the match?
Well, I'll just for variety's sake, I'll just go with, I think, probably the only other player who I think was probably with a shout with it, which was Danny Welbeck. I love Danny Welbeck. I think for the Albion, he's very underappreciated. I think sometimes he suffers from the fact that we don't have, or we haven't had this season, another player up front because of João Pedro coming in and out, and Evan, kind of being injured last season, and then, not getting so many opportunities, and kind of, I guess, looking for a bit of match fitness and match form this season. So I think he's had to plough a bit of a lone furrow for a little while. And he's never going to be a sort of 20-25 goal a season player. But my God, what a sort of 8 to 10 player. 8 to 10 goal a season player he is. And he just goes out, and you can just see he just wants to win. He just wants to do everything he can. Every single game he puts an absolute shift in, whether of things that he does come off or not. He's always trying 100%, and I just have a veteran on that field like Danny Welbeck is, to me, it's just as valuable as someone like James Milner, who's behind the scenes G'ing them up. To look at someone like Danny, who probably could have had his career ended 3 or 4 times through injury, to still be playing at this level, into his 30s and stuff. I really admire the guy and how he's done at the Albion, because I was skeptical to begin with. So, but he's proved me wrong, and I love the guy. So I'll say Danny Welbeck.
There you go. That is a very strong case, Duncan. You've made a very, very strong case.
I can't believe that was his first free kick, wasn't it? That's the first time he scored from a free kick.
Really?
It's crazy.
There you go.
That was like, that was a dead ball version of his goal against Roma. So he's got such a good touch. He's got such a good curling. Why doesn't he take more free kicks?
He will now.
He will now,
for sure.
One of the things I was going to say as well is, if you haven't seen them, watch the post-match interviews from today, and Danny speaks on that, and not only on the pitch but off the pitch, and the way he speaks so well, and talks about collective responsibility in the team. Like for the second goal, he was like, it's not just the defenders, it's all of us. We could have dealt with that higher up the pitch. And that attitude as well, and how that rubs off on all the younger players. It's all of us together. It's a collective, and I just love that. I love it. It's what you need in the dressing room.
I'll tell you the other thing I was thinking of I'm mentioning about like having that sort of winning mentality is, if you haven't seen his Buzz's boot room quiz when he goes against Tarek Lamptey, or I forget what they call him, like Danny's son or whatever, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, I won't spoil the end, but basically he gets so annoyed that all the boots in the back on the boot room, he starts knocking them on the floor, and you sort of think like, you can just see how on the pitch that's what he's doing when he's things are not going right. He's sort of mentally knocking boots on the floor and saying, "Come on, guys, pull your fingers out. Let's get this done." So it was done for comedic effect, I'm sure, a little bit, but it just shows how much he wants to win, even in Buzz's boot room quiz. He wants it.
Exactly. And Duncan, you say that he's not the player to get you 20, 25 goals a season. He is on 3 from 5.
Wow,
so
there you go.
Maybe
I'd love to be proved wrong again.
He'll prove you wrong.
It's the whole of last season as well. So he's already over halfway his total from last season. So come on,
there you go. Tom in the chat says Welbeck now has more goals than Mbappe on free kicks. I know my goat. Yeah, absolutely.
Levels.
Welbeck is clear of that French fraud. My player of the match, before we get cancelled, my player of the match is I think, Duncan, you made a great case for Danny Welbeck, but I think I've got to go with Jumping Jack.
I think that's fair enough.
I think he was absolutely brilliant. Ran the midfield, got his goal, played some beautiful passes throughout the game, and as staked a claim as to be the next starting midfielder for us. And I'm sure that's where he wants to be. That's where he's played most of his career. So yeah, Jack Hinshelwood for me takes home the Albion Obsessed podcast Player of the Match award, which I'm sure he will hold in high esteem, next to his Young Player of the Season award and England caps and all that good stuff. So yeah, we'll send that over to you, Jack. No problem.
Maybe next season we can coax him into the 13 shirt.
Maybe. Although I personally believe that we should retire the 13 shirt. We don't do that enough. The clubs don't do that enough now, I don't think. But that's just the way football's going. Let's look ahead to next week. We've got a very big game against Chelsea, who have just beaten West Ham 3-0 this weekend. Very disappointed to see them happy. I don't like it when Chelsea fans are happy. Alex, give us your score prediction, please.
Oh, really? Oh God! I'd take a point now. Same as Arsenal, I'd be happy with a point. They're all right at the moment, aren't they? They're on a bit of a run and a little bit scary. Unfortunately, I don't like to say it, but they are on a little bit of a run. I'll take a point. If we're going to sneak a win, it will be by 1 goal, I think. So, all right. I tell you what, let's go 2-1. I'll go 2-1. I'm feeling like we might grab something.
All right, fine. We'll settle for a 2-1 win for the Albion, I guess. Ben, what are you thinking for the game at Stamford Bridge?
Well, I was sort of thinking exactly along the same lines as Alex, actually. I think, I reckon we're going to get a late one. It's going to be 1-1. It's going to be, I'm not sure it's going to be in the 8th minute of 7 minutes of stoppage time like Man City today, but I think we're going to get a late winner. I think it's going to be 2-1 as well.
Are you saying that Man City benefited from cheating?
No.
Every time.
We don't
Not a chance.
There's going to be lawyers on us at some point.
I know. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Duncan, your prediction, please.
I think I was going to go exactly the same 2-1. So I'm going to do so. I'll do something else. No, well, the thing is, I think if it's not going to be 2-1, I think it might be a draw. So that's. I don't really fancy us to put several past them. Not the way they're playing at the moment. Chelsea of probably the last 18 months, I would have. But I'll go 1-0. I'll still go with a 1 deficit, but I've got a feeling maybe with a Stamford Bridge feels quite compact to me, and I think we do better on those compact pitches than the wide open space. I think that suits our defence a little bit more. We can be a little bit more compact at the back. So I'll say we'll keep a clean sheet, which won't often happen this season. But I could see Fabian changing up the tactics a little bit, so I'll go 1-0 and. I think maybe it'll be someone who perhaps we've been looking for a performance out of. So maybe a Minter or a Belieber, Someone will do something special. I think get that one goal.
Well, it's safe to say Duncan is a believer.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
You are so welcome.
I saw his face, and I'm a believer.
Not a trace of doubt in his mind. He's in love. Ooh. Anyway, Max says his prediction is a 2-2 draw. Oh no, he's just changed it. He says, in fact, no Hertz on the touchline. Chelsea 3-1 win.
Oh,
Max,
that's a
you're
point.
not allowed to do that. You said 2-2 draw. You were going to
Yeah.
settle with a 2-2 draw. Thank you
First
very much.
answer only.
Exactly. I will go with a 2-1 win for the Albion.
Ooh. It's got to happen now, then, isn't it?
Because why not? Alex has messaged me privately and he said, if you don't pick a 2-1 win, I'll find you. She's dropping Alex in it. He didn't really. Alex is a lovely
about
guy.
the man of the match as well. Yeah,
he did. He's actually pointing a gun at me as we speak. Goodness me,
they're actually both in the same room. They're just Alex is just passing notes over to Jared.
That's why he's blurred out his background.
Yeah, because he's in your living room, isn't it?
If you see, look, I'm waving in the background. Anyway,
Brady Bunch.
yeah.
What a chaotic podcast this has been, and it's been a good one. So before we sign off, we just want to give thanks again to Ben and Duncan from the SheGulls podcast. Duncan, if you could just let everyone know once again where they can find yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, on all the socials, we're pretty much at SheGulls on everything, with the exception of Facebook, so that'd be SheGulls podcast. But yeah, Insta, X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it nowadays, at SheGulls, and then SheGulls.com, and obviously that links everywhere else. So if you just find that, that's just as good.
Happy days. We've got one more prediction coming in the chat. Tom says, I think it's going to be 1-0 to the Albion. Welbeck late on.
Thank you.
Ooh,
there you go.
Nice.
I've got a supporter too.
Exactly. Duncan, you got loads of supporters, mate. You should see your Spotify numbers are crazy.
I know.
Ben, thank you very much for coming on, my friend. Where can people find yourself?
Well, I'm at Ben Atkins _UK on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, but I don't do it very much. I'm just a bit of a lurker. Most of my Twitter's about either the Albion women or about cycling.
Observer.
Sometimes about Brexit. So I'm probably not worth following, but you know.
Ben, you are very
follow me
following.
at BHAFC women. That's the way. That's where the best content is.
Exactly that.
And SheGulls,
Alex,
obviously.
And she. Sorry, yes.
Obviously, yeah. Ben's getting sacked now.
Mm.
You watch. Alex, where can
One
people
job.
find your good self, and tell people about the Reddit as well, please?
Yeah, I put the Reddit link in again, so come and join us on the Reddit. Lashend Pap on Reddit, and been running that subreddit for several years. We're up to about 24,000 subscribers now.
Are we above Palace yet?
We're not above Palace yet, Joe. We're very, very close. We're the closest we've ever been. So we're about 700 behind Palace at the moment. And so we do need people to come and sign up, get a Reddit account, subscribe to the subreddit so we can push past Palace. And on Twitter, you can find me at BHAFCR, which is the BHAFCR Reddit. So I run that account as well. But yeah, come and say hello. We had a really good match thread today. We get the match threads are really picking up. So the live chat and match threads, lots of large global community. And it's good fun. It's really good fun on there. It's worth popping in and having a look.
Happy days. I like it. So yeah, go and find all of those good people at all of the @s that they mentioned. And before we sign off, we want to say, wherever you may be, whenever you may be, we hope you have a great day. And up the Albion. See you later.
Up the Albion.